Oh, hey, I didn't see you come in. But go ahead and take a seat. Come on in. Dust your boots off. You caught me learning how to read and write. One of these days I'm going to finally get it. But it is Christmas Eve, and we're going to do our annual tradition of looking back on some of the funnest moments we've had in a wild year of sports here at MTN with a little something that we like to call the 12 Days of Holiday Sports Christmas. The 12th day of Christmas, Sportscaster gave to me. Jenna Randich dancing, Allie cheering solo, chilling with a Grizzly, Isaiah dodging tackles, Darko Kelly dunking, Great Falls Central, trick shot, Northern Lights proposal, Wylie's had a baby. Cut bang track meet puppies, hockey player mullets, golfing in a snowstorm, and thrilling buzzer beating celebrations. Thank you all for being a part of our 2019. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2020.
Tom, the big question, are you ready for all that cold water?
Well, the short answer to that question is no. You can't prepare for something like this downtown here at the Christmas Stroll. Behind me, you see the pool, the hot tubs beyond that. That's our sanctuary. But you can try to practice for things. You can take cold showers, you can jump in snow, do snow angels in just your shorts. But the main thing is to be brave, and we're going to do our best to do that tonight. It is a fundraiser for Special Olympics Montana. Goes to benefit over 3,000 athletes. Welcome back to smoky Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where in just a few hours on the field behind me, Dave and Craig Dickinson are going to meet for the first time as head coaches in the Canadian Football League. Now, and at the end of the day, it was Dave coming out on top of Dickinson Bowl number 1, 37-1 over Craig in the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But after the game, there wasn't a whole lot of reflection about brother versus brother and what that meant for these two. It was more about getting their team ready for the regular season. That's right. Welcome to Bobcats Stadium. 118 games, 118 memories. Everyone who's ever watched the Cats face off against the Grizz has their favorite moments, and that includes the head coaches. Welcome to the Dakota Dome, the home of the University of South Dakota Coyotes, who await your Montana Grizzlies for both teams' season opener on Saturday. Now, this is an active construction site. The dome is undergoing a $26 million renovation that's scheduled to be completed in 2020. But in the meantime, they're still playing football here with only half the seating capacity, so the Grizz are preparing for a different kind of atmosphere. Just landed in Peoria, Illinois. Fun fact, home of legendary comedian Richard Pryor. They got a statue of him here downtown, but it's going to be no laughing matter from Montana State tomorrow, about 90 miles from here, when they face Western Illinois in a game that Coach Jeff Choate calls pivotal. Well, if last week's win at Montana State moved Sacramento State into the top 25 this week, a 49-22 victory over the Montana Grizzlies, the number 5 ranked team in the nation, proved that the Hornets belong here. Saturday's win over UC Davis was special for a lot of reasons, but for Montana senior linebacker Dante Olson, it was a moment after the game that left the biggest smile on his face. Montana State's loss to North Dakota on Saturday certainly stings for the Bobcats and their fans, but it's not devastating to their playoff hopes. What it does do, though, however, is give the Bobcats a sense of urgency.
From MTN and MontanaSports.com, this is Sunday Night Sports.
Hello, everybody. Wrestling is a physically and mentally taxing sport, but it gets even harder when the odds are stacked against you. MTN's Tom Wylie has the story of one young wrestler who overcame long odds to get onto the mat with the help of one of the best grapplers the state has ever seen.
Nothing about the sport of wrestling comes easy, and no one knows that better than Great Falls native Mike Zadek, a 4-time state champion, a college All-American, and a former Olympian.
We talk about struggle here. We talk about overcoming struggle. We want to struggle just to overcome it, to make ourselves a better person.
That's the message he delivers to campers at his annual wrestling clinic, and it's the one that resonated with 10-year-old Tucker Steigels of Havre.
Well, it's a tough sport, and you technically have to be tough in your life to get through stuff.
You see, Tucker has been through his share of struggles. He was born with the cervical vertebrae in his neck fused, which led to a whole host of other medical problems.
Well, he has a fused neck, a cleft palate. He ended up having a feeding tube for like 1.5 years of his life. He has had multiple surgeries. I'm talking 50 surgeries. He struggled for a long time.
Wrestling is important to the Steigels family, but doctors told them that Tucker would never be able to step on the mat.
He couldn't do any sports. If he would fall off the couch and hit his head, he could be paralyzed. And it was huge. That was huge for us because we are a very active family, and Tyrell, his dad, is huge into wrestling. His brother is into wrestling. They love it. And then to hear that he couldn't wrestle was horrible.
That's where people like Mike Zadek come in.
Well, and when we first met Mike, Tucker was little, and he wasn't even going to the camp yet. And Mike just took him on the mat. He said, you need to get your shoes and you need to come out here and you need to wrestle. And from then on, it's stuck.
And once Tucker got on the mat, that was it. He was a wrestler, and a pretty good one at that.
This medal is from the freestyle and the Greco tournament.
And he has his sights set high. What are your goals for wrestling?
Just getting into the Olympics and being a four-timer.
He's an inspiration to everyone who watches him wrestle, including his older brother.
He's had to fight all of his life. He's had to fight through the surgeries. He's had to fight through everything, and wrestling is just another step. He's been through harder stuff than wrestling, so he knows how to fight.
And that brings us back to camp. Recently, Tucker had to pick someone who inspired him for a school project. And you can probably guess who he picked.
Well, I picked him because he was a really good wrestler, and he's a good athlete, and we both like each other. And I like how he comes to the tournament when I get to see him.
You know, since he was coming here, he's just the cutest little kid, and I always hugged him, picked him up. And you don't realize what a hug does to a kid. You know, he writes a report and a biography, and his mom sent me a message just stating, you don't know those hugs of what they've done for him over the years, but he really is. And literally I came up to him, and I grabbed him yesterday, and I say, hey, I saw that little dummy you made of me. That's an ugly guy. That does not look like me. I'm way prettier than that dummy.
The fact that Tucker Steigels can even wrestle a match is a miracle. And through struggle, dedication, and positive role models, he's not just competing, he's thriving.
This was not supposed to happen. He was not supposed to be this kid. Getting into a sport where he has to work hard, be there every day, show up, it makes him tougher.
Sure, wrestling might be tough, but there's nothing too tough for Tucker. Tom Wylie, MTN Sports.
MTN Sports Extra with Tom Wylie.
Welcome back. We're going to start Sports Extra just a little bit differently tonight. Now, district tournaments always provide great moments, but it's awfully hard to top the one that we saw at the 8C in Great Falls this week. Over the past few years, we've followed the story of Finley Grace Foster and Finley Strong. Now, after 3 years of hospital stays, infections, setbacks, recovery, and bone marrow transplants due to a compromised immune system, the 5-year-old Finley was recently cleared to venture out into public places and to try to be a kid again. And one of the first stops she made was to the basketball courts to see her dad, Pat Foster, referee.
When I first got back, it was kind of cool to start getting back into the reffing and stuff, but I never did really get a chance to see Finn on the sideline, and it was really special to see her on the sideline. So we just got back like 2 weeks ago, and that's when we found out that she was totally clear. And that was the best line I ever heard from a doctor. She has no restrictions. And then I immediately went, what does that mean? And she said, she can do whatever. When she wasn't at the games, when she wasn't clear, she'd watch at home on the network, and she'd be watching me on the TV, and she'd be wearing her stripes and stuff, and she was going to wear them today, but she's saving that for championship night. So.
How old are you?
We can take her to restaurants now. We can take her, obviously, to basketball games, to stores. She just lights up when she sees all this stuff. It's just totally new. And just to be around kids is really big. Finley Strong is everything. It makes you not sweat the little things. When people are having a bad day, think of Finley Strong and you're like, oh. We got it pretty easy compared to her and stuff, so Finley Strong means everything.